I like watching events of consequence where winners
What's
matter.
a consequential event? Give me a consequential event.
The
John
Masters.
Deere Classic, Sanderson Farms. I mean, are those your consequential events?
Well,
This is one place where you and I are going to agree
come on,
forever.
let's
Hank.
get
Like,
serious.
it's just
They're all exhibitions.
It's 4 or 5 events.
There's 4 real
Right.
tournaments.
hey everybody, welcome back. No Putts Given. Tony, Chris, we're here. How is everybody living today? Everybody good?
All good.
Tony, you good?
I get by. As usual,
You
I
get by. Special guest
One day at
today.
a
You
time.
may recognize this face. You may be wondering where the distribution of voodoo cream is in the background, but it's not there. It's not there. We have Hank Haney with us today to chat through a bunch of golf stuff. Hank, thanks for carving out some time and joining us today.
That's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Let's dive in because this is No Putts Given.
Yeah.
We say what we mean what we say. I want to get into a lot of the LIV Golf stuff because you've been very vocal and very passionate around it. My first question is, why are you so passionate about this? I have 7 daughters. I got stuff going on in my life. You seem to be very energized around all of this LIV Golf stuff. Why are you so passionate about it?
I think number one is I like pissing people off. It gets such a ridiculous reaction from people that I just love gigging them. I mean, I hate hypocrisy. I mean, that is my deal. I just don't like it. I mean, I don't. I've been the subject of it, and I think it's a hot point for me. So hypocrisy kind of drives me a little nuts, to be honest with you. And I just see a lot of hypocrisy in things people say, and the coverage in the media. I think the golf media is like pathetic, and I like to just gig them a little bit. I don't know, and of course, Colt Nose tells me I'm in the golf media because I have a podcast. I said I'm not in the golf media, but maybe I'm in the golf media. I don't know, but I just think that there's a place for LIV Golf. I think it's tremendous for the players. It's been incredible. I mean, it's undeniable. I mean, look at the amount of money that is now going to the players. The PGA Tour all of a sudden found $200 million. They're increasing the purses. The 48 spots at LIV Golf, they're making a ton of money. I mean, you can't deny it's better for the players. So I'm pro players. That's one thing. I have coached, and I don't coach touring pros anymore, but I did for 35 years. I coached over 200 touring pros, and I got to tell you guys, there wasn't one of them that came through my door that didn't complain about something relative to the PGA Tour. And it's not like they didn't like their job. It's not like they didn't appreciate being a pro. It's not like they didn't love giving to charity. It's not, and they appreciate the fact that they have the opportunity to play golf. But they all had a beef. There was some kind of beef, and I think competition is good. I like watching golf. I like watching the PGA Tour. I like watching LIV Golf. I actually love watching LIV Golf, to be honest with you. To me, it's better. More shots. Players I know. You can argue whether they're past their prime or whatever you want to argue about it, but they're good players. They're great players, and they're fun to watch. And I like the fact that there's not so many commercials, and the team aspect is kind of good too because it allows them to show more players on Sunday because there's teams are in it and they've got a reason to show players. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I like about LIV Golf, and I think it's really good for the players, and I think ultimately it's good for golf. It's good for the fans. People say it's tearing golf apart. What's tearing golf apart? I mean, these players didn't play in very many tournaments anyways together, the best players. I mean, we rarely saw it. We see it at majors. And now, they're separated some more. Yeah, but you know what? It's more opportunity for players. It's more golf to watch on TV. I like it. So I say things and people immediately I can tell everybody who's got an agenda, and they'll rip me to bits and they'll rip me on Twitter. And like I had one guy send me this thing. He's got like 5 points, okay, and of course the last point is, they're playing at that Donald Trump's course, and okay, there we go. Now the truth comes out. You got a problem with Donald Trump. It's just so I like I like it. I like the LIV Golf. I like talking about it. I like seeing where it's going. It gives you guys something to talk about too. You wouldn't have had me on your podcast if I didn't tweet about LIV Golf. So
possibly, possibly. Although I did have some other questions for you, but the first one I want to dive into, because there are layers to this. I mean, it's like tiramisu, right? I mean, we got layers to it, and the first place I want to go is the hypocrisy part, because I think that resonates with people. What do you find as the most hypocritical? Like you said, there's personal things there, or there's background to where like, hey, that really grabs you. Like, what are the most egregious examples of the hypocrisy going on that you see relative to this that just grinds your gears?
Well, like you said, there's so many things. I mean, the whole Saudi dirty money thing, and I mean, where do you draw that line? I mean, where does that line get drawn? The PGA Tour, has had tournaments for years in China. I mean, I've done business in China. I mean, there's issues there. There's issues everywhere. I mean, all the sponsors of the PGA Tour that all do business in Saudi Arabia. I mean, where does that line get drawn? So that I got a little problem with that. Just selective, outrage. I don't think that's a fair thing. I mean,
But doesn't intent come into play there though, Hank? Because I understand what you're saying, right? We're all, whether it's at the corporate level. I mean, PGA Tour does business with China, as you mentioned. Every equipment manufacturer whose products we write about all the time does business in China. But in those relationships, the intent is commerce for the most part. And I don't like that necessarily, but that is, I think we all know better or worse, that is how the world works. Whereas in the case of Saudi Arabia, and as it relates to LIV Tour, because the Chinese have never tried to fully fund an upstart golf tour to compete with the PGA Tour, where the intent and I think my mind, and I agree, this isn't, I wasn't the first to say this, is sports washing, right? It's to effectively try and make you forget about the atrocities of the Saudi Arabian government. So to my mind, that's the difference. Is what is the intent behind this operation?
That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And I have my opinions. You have yours. Other people have theirs. That's what makes the world go around. I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, I'm not gonna. If you feel that way, and everybody that kind of feels that way, like you just described, you cannot move them off their position. There's nothing I could say. There's nothing Greg Norman can say. There's nothing any touring pro can say. There's nothing anyone on the face of the earth can say to move you off that position. So why even try?
I think, but I'm asking you, because I think you're right.
I'm not going to move you off the position,
set in
so I'm
my
not going to
opinion.
try.
No, I acknowledge I am set in this, that the intent behind the tour, which is, I look at it as ostensibly the Saudi Arabian government paying PGA Tours to help them by
if you have a problem with Saudi Arabia and, the whole thing about, their sports watching, there's nothing anybody's going to say that's going to get you off of your point.
Oh, for sure. I acknowledge that, but I'm asking you, where do you fall with respect to the intent?
It's not something that I worry. I worry. I don't worry about it. I mean, I can't control the world, and I mean, they're an ally of ours. Saudi Arabia is. Joe Biden went over there. Joe Biden went over there and asked for oil.
But again, so my point is that we have to.
I don't know why I got it.
Well, I think he probably does, right? You have to differentiate between government level.
I mean,
at the government level, it's necessary evils, and at the business level, it's commerce. No, I'm not asking you to sway my opinion, and I think you answered me. So for you, the intent is inconsequential, right? It's all about the golf.
So
you're not going to move me off.
I just
either,
want to make sure
we're at a stalemate.
So
no. I just wanted to make sure. Like, does the intent matter?
There is, and I think that's
sure.
That's another part of the I don't know if it's the hypocrisy part of it, because there are parts about it that bother me. There's parts that it's like, okay, whatever the case is. One question I wanted to ask you directly, Hank, is beyond the funding source, beyond that, whatever the case is, let's put those to the side for a second. The format, like, for me, doesn't do anything for me. Like, I like watching events of consequence where winners
What's
matter.
a consequential event? Give me a consequential event.
The
John
Masters.
Deere Classic, Sanderson Farms. I mean, are those your consequential events?
Well,
this is one place where you and I are going to agree
come
forever.
on, let's get serious.
It's just,
They're all exhibitions.
There's
4 real tournaments.
So the Masters.
Like,
I mean,
five.
You throw the players. Yeah,
okay, put the players in there. There's five real tournaments. Like Charles Barkley always says. There's like I forget what he said, like 4 real jobs in the world.
Right. But my point is this:
military, first responders, and and police or whatever. I mean, there's 4 real jobs. There's 5 real tournaments. The rest of them are all exhibitions.
So let's change the term. Let's change the term from of consequence to the concept of meritocracy, right? Like you taught Tour Pros for 3+ decades, whatever, where they're grinding. They are putting in hours that nobody sees. And I mean, the amount of time, effort, and energy touring professionals go into try and hone their game and their skills, etc. And you've been an integral part of that. Obviously, Tiger Woods, specifically the best player most of us have ever seen. The fact that people are now playing that same game without the demands for the meritocracy, like, to me, that was something that always set golf apart. Like, because I didn't grow up in the industry that way. Like, I love the idea that, golfers would call penalties on themselves, right? Like, and maybe I held it in too much of a high esteem that's kind of what golfers did, that there weren't a lot of Patrick Reeds running around, but maybe there are more than I care to fully admit or acknowledge. Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of meritocracy that, if you don't show up for your shift, you don't get paid, right? If you don't mow the lawn, you don't get paid. If you want to take a day off work, you get paid. And now, to me, this is, if that was a hallmark or a keystone element, characteristic of philosophical underpinning of professional golf,
you get paid for what you do,
but not for just showing up.
Well, I mean,
well, you do though. We do, like, everybody.
Showing up.
A golfer who misses a cut, a golfer who misses a cut, his equivalent is the equivalent of just had a bad day at the office. That's one way to look at it, right? He just had a bad day at the office, and if you and I have bad days at the office, we still get a paycheck. So I understand.
Once again, it's great. These are all great arguments. Different people have different points of view, and that's fine. I mean, it's all good stuff, but we're just going to have to agree to disagree. Is it better competition when guys have to make a cut to get paid? I don't know. I don't think I don't think it's right. I think that golfers should get paid. They're entertaining. Somebody's coming to watch them. Somebody's even if they're not the best player, they're part of the field. I think that the players should make something. I think if you make it to the PGA Tour, I don't think it should give you the right to spend $200,000 in expenses and go home a loser. It's just my opinion. I think they could shave a little bit of that money off of this somewhere and pay guys, which is now they're doing. I mean, they've changed.
They're giving what, $500,000 draw? Giving them
$500. I think that you make every other sport, you make it on the NFL, the NBA. You don't get paid. So I mean, but you can. You can argue, and it's a good argument like you make, Chris. I mean, that it's a pure form of competition. I get it. I just don't think it's, 2022. I think it's 2022 right now. And
there's nothing. I mean, watching Pat Perez shoot 82 or, barely break 80 and make $900,000. Like that just doesn't.
He's paid his dues forever. He's played golf forever. He's played in pro-ams forever. He's played, and you know what he said? He said, Hank, I feel like I won the lottery.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
You know what? Good for you, bud. Good for you. Good for you. I mean, I don't begrudge him. I'm not jealous of him. I'm happy for him. Good for you. I don't. You know what? I hope you guys make 900,000 this week too.
I would love to.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? You deserve it. You got 7 girls. You could buy them all.
If I can finish DFL and make $900,000, sign me up. Sign me up.
Here's the other thing that gets people all riled up, and that they don't realize. I've taught so many touring pros for so long, and I'm not saying everybody, but I would say almost everybody. How about that? Okay, I'm going to leave maybe one person off the list, maybe a couple. Okay, I know one for sure. I don't know who the other ones I'd leave off the list. You know what they all play for? Money. That's what they play for. They can give you all that talk they like to give you. They can tell you they play for the titles. Mm-hmm. I sure didn't see that. Yeah. I saw guys playing for money. That's what they cared about.
So then why not? So this talk about hypocrisy. So this is the one that would grind my gears. Is it's always to me it's not an either or. It's not money or titles. It's some percentage of both. And again, it matters more to some than others. I mean, Robert McIntyre, right? He was on record basically saying, "Hey, I basically have what I need, and I can't imagine a scenario when I need more." Okay, good for him. That's his perspective, right? At one point in time, Cam Smith was like, "Hey, another $10 million. I don't know what I do. Maybe buy some more fishing equipment." Obviously, that was a lie. That was not at all honest. Or
he needed a bigger
boat in his own lake or whatever. But so it's not necessarily one or the other. Why not just come out and say that? Why? But why not just say, "Hey, I'm taking the money and run it"? Like, I mean, Harold Varner did.
Either way, you're gonna get ripped either way, and they're just trying not to get ripped. That's all they're trying to do. Okay, so they're thinking.
But why not at least be honest about it? Just say, "Hey, you know what? I'm taking," because everybody can resonate with that. I got offered.
Pat Perez is honest, and everybody rips him to bits because he finished 38th and won $900,000, and he was honest. Right. And he was honest. So what? What kind of whatever. First off, why does everybody ask that question? Why is the media? Why does the golf media ask that question?
Which one? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Would you not agree that that's a gotcha question?
What question? Like, why did you go?
Yeah, that's a gotcha question. We all know it's a gotcha question.
I think it is, and what it does is it sets up the further hypocrisy, right? Because if you take the low hanging fruit, right, and say, "Hey, I'm doing it for the money," because it's pure and simple. This is Harold Varner basically said that, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing it for the money, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's going to come back and ask him later and be like, "Well, Harold, you said you wanted to spend more time with your family. Now you're playing another 14 tournaments and you can't," right? So it alleviates that player of potentially looking worse down the line. But yeah, I mean, it's a no-win question in the sense that you can either be honest in the short term or potentially look ridiculous in the long term. Like I would argue some of the guys do by saying, "Hey, I'm not going to play as many tournaments, and now
I know that's
I'm going to grow the game.
I'm grow the game. I'm here to grow the game."
Like,
okay, so that they're there to make money. There's no doubt about that. Everybody knows that, so we don't even really need to ask the question. It's 100%. They know they're there for the money. They're not there to grow the game.
It is. I mean, there's a comedic value.
Yeah. But then just say
there's a comedic value, though, to seeing the lengths these guys will go.
Now what will we have to talk about?
That's the point.
The tap dance. The tap dance.
Then I agree. Then what would we talk about? Well, geez, what are they going to do with all this money? How are they going to spend their money? But then we're not sitting there going,
equipment.
You're going to grow the game?
Well, in their mind, they think playing over in and I'm not saying this is why they did it. I'm just telling you what they're thinking. In their mind, they think going over to Bangkok this week is growing the game. And you could make a case that it is.
How? Like, help me understand that.
You're bringing well-known stars to an area that where golf can grow. You're bringing,
but like connect those dots. Like, how does that actually grow?
If you go to Portland, Oregon, which doesn't have a pro tournament, and you go there, do you think after that weekend? And I'm not defending that comment, okay? I'm just telling you. Do you think after that tournament, do you think Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, the next day, the next week, do you think there were any more rounds of golf played than there would have been had that tournament not been there?
Of course, I guarantee there were more rounds played that week.
Come on, there's somebody that was at that tournament that said, you know what? Let's go hit some this afternoon. And they maybe wouldn't have hit some if they hadn't been there. So in some little
totally agree
way, it did grow the game. But they all went for the money. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I think if you're really dedicated to growing the game, it's not an ancillary thing that maybe happens for a weekend or two. It's like, hey, what do you like? Put some of that money towards clinics. Or get somebody like a Hank Haney to come out there and pay them to do junior clinics.
It's true, but they are everybody who golfs professionally can argue that they're growing the game.
Yeah.
So but I don't, are you growing the game more by playing over at LIV? Well, if you think you're, going to play in areas where, maybe golf is growing, maybe that will grow. It's a weak argument. I'm not defending that argument. They all went for the money.
Yeah.
But you know what? Hey, if you have a position where you just can't stand the sports washing aspect of it, there's nothing anybody's going to say to get you off that. But they went for the money, and everybody can criticize them and everything else, but now everybody that stayed on the PGA Tour, what are they, campaigning for? More money.
And they're getting it.
Yeah. So It's good for everybody.
So where does this go? So let's look forward a little bit because, I think just today, at least rumors of some announcements, like with the official World Golf
loophole.
I believe that when I hear it,
we're now going to
see it, I guess,
a proxy tour to try and find a way to backdoor into official World Golf ranking point. Like, where does this go in terms of the two tours? Do they have to work together on some level? It doesn't seem like either's going away.
They're not going to work together. I don't think they're going to work together. I don't think there's any chance they're going to work together. I don't think.
So where does this? Where do you think this ends up? Yeah, like where do you think it? In a year from now, what do we see?
Together. I mean, Monahan's dug in. He can't. He has no choice but to not work with them, because all these guys that turned down the big money, he's got to answer to those guys. Number one, he can't answer to the guys that left. He's got to answer to the guys that stayed, and they all. If he all of a sudden works with them, then those other guys are going to say, "I turned down $200 million, and you're working with these guys."
Where's my support?
He's got he can't. And, the other guys, the guys that are, 50 through 100, I mean, they're thinking, I used to be 100 through 150. Now I'm 50 through 100. So you're going to piss them off too. So he's got no chance. He can't work with anybody. He's got to stay with where he is. And then it just boils down to, the issue about the World Golf ranking. I mean, hey, those guys got paid. They got their money. I think going forward, they've got to, the LIV Golf thing probably needs to figure that out. But in the short term, they really don't. I think players don't get their World Golf ranking points. I mean, they got their money. What they what are they going to do with World Golfing rank points? What are they going to do with World Golfing rank points? I mean, they're going to play in what are they going to do? Play in majors? Who gives a crap?
That's the objective, right?
I mean, they don't. They can say they care. Like who? Kevin Na? He's not Kevin Na's not going to win a major. Like Lee Westwood's not going to win another major. No. Phil Mickelson's not going to win another. I mean, what are they? Patrick Reed. he probably thinks he's going to win another major, but the odds are he's not going to win another major.
Right.
So what? So we're really only talking about a few guys here, and they're kind of already exempt. Cameron Smith and DJ, and I mean, Gooch is a pretty good player. There's no doubt. I mean, they got good players. There's guys that could win. I don't think that it's a be all end all for those guys. I think they play for money, to be honest with you.
Should they just drop it? Should LIV just drop then the whole official World Golf Avenue piece? Like, should they just?
I don't understand how it's better for. I don't understand how it's better for golf. And for instance, the 4 tournaments or 5 tournaments that do matter, I don't understand how it's better for them not to have the best players in there. I mean, I would think if I was the majors, I would say, hey, World Golf Rankings, you need to figure out how to include all these guys because we want to have the best fields we can have. This isn't our, PGA Tour. This is your fight, but this isn't my fight. I'm a major championship. I want to have the best field I can have, and I don't know how you can take a list like the, official World Golf Ranking list. How can you take that list serious if you're not going to include Dustin Johnson and Cameron Smith? How can you take that list serious?
Well, I would say, I guess my counter to that is how do you accurately rank those players?
That's up to those guys.
Even if we split in half, right? If we say half the best players in the world are on LIV and the other half is on the PGA Tour, and I don't think we're at that density yet, but I foresee that we could get there. How do you establish a reasonable ranking when the best players in the world aren't competing against each other week to week?
That is going to be, well, the only time they're going to compete is the 4 majors, and that's a great point, Tony. But that's their job.
That is their job. That's probably in their list of job duties. That is their job, is to figure that out.
Yeah. If they're going to call it official World Golf Rankings, and it's not the official World Golf Rankings, it doesn't include the best players. So it's a worthless list. And why would they want a worthless list? That's the argument, I think, that I just don't understand how they can get around. It just shows how, much collusion there is to try to, not let LIV play. I mean, I would think you'd want to have the best players represented on your list and in the majors. And, that to me would be where it should end up. And they play here and the other guys play there. And then, 4 times they get together for the only tournaments that matter anyways, because all the rest of them are just exhibitions. Just
I like the John Deere Classic and I like the Sanderson Farms. And hey,
I like it too. I like it too. I like to watch it. I like it too. But to think that it's some kind of everybody will say, just I want to win on the tour. Why do you think? What's the number one reason a player wants to win on the PGA Tour?
Financial security.
And give me another reason he wants to win on the PGA Tour. He gets a 2-year exemption. Okay,
yeah.
More financial security.
Yeah,
I mean it all boils down to that every time you turn around.
Absolutely.
How much does legacy matter?
It matters.
Right? And again, the measurement in golf right now is majors.
Right.
And, obviously that matters to some, but big picture, I mean, what percentage of the guys on either tour right now do you think are truly concerned about their legacy?
What do you think a reason is that players want to win a major?
Well, I mean, part of it is legacy. Part of it is that financial security piece, right? You get a big paycheck with that and ancillary benefits because not only are you getting that check for winning that major, now you're more attractive to equipment companies, sponsors outside of golf. So I understand how that snowballs, how money is the thing. But I'm asking, how many of these golfers do you think are concerned with, being remembered as an all-time
all the ones
great,
that have plenty of money.
So I mean, is it really?
I guarantee you that that's not on the top of guys' lists that are trying to keep their card. They're trying to have a job.
Yeah.
It's just it's like I mean, I've been in this world for so long, and I've just seen, how, you know, players have been, and yeah, it's a job. You know, I remember when I first started helping Marco Mary. He was 124th on the money list on the PGA Tour, and you know, I was at the driving range at Pinehurst, and I was stood behind him, and he said, "Are you going to say anything?" And I said, "I'm thinking about what your plan should be. Let's go sit down. We'll talk about it." He says, "Hank, just start telling me something." He said, "If I don't make the next two cuts, I'm not going to be on the PGA Tour." I mean, he wasn't thinking about legacy; he was thinking about his job, and that's what they think about. And you know what? It's not for me to decide, how fancy a car somebody should drive, or how many cars they should have, or how big a boat they should have, or how big a house they should have, or how many houses they want. I don't know what motivates players, but when I hear people talk about, and this is you have me on because I'll say something. I mean, let's face it, I'm not just going to give you the standard answer. I don't. I think the whole legacy thing is just people just make more about it than it is. Because show me a guy talking about legacy that can't pay his mortgage. He's worried about having money for himself, for his family. I hate to break the news to people, but it just is. Yeah, Tiger, is he worried about more about his legacy? Well, yeah, but I mean, it's easy to say. When you're a billionaire. Rory McIlroy, he just cares about his legacy, winning tournaments that matter. Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, look but would he say that same thing if he didn't have all the money? And we don't know. We can't, we don't know either way. But I don't see I don't see guys that are trying to scrape it out to pay their expenses talking about legacy. They're trying to figure out, how can I pay my expenses? And man, this is great that now if you're on tour, you get $500,000 and you don't have to worry for a little while. People want to worry less, and I don't think anybody's like staying up at night worried about whether or not their legacy is going to be as good as they thought it was going to be. They're more worried about, I want to keep my card and keep my job and care for my family. That's just my opinion. People don't like to hear that. They want to hear, oh, he plays for the trophies. I love it. You can't, all these great quotes. You can, this is something, no amount of money in the world can replace this. Oh my God, give me a break, will you? Says the guy with 200 million. Let me hear the guy who's making 20,000 say that.
I got a trophy last year, Hank, for winning a tournament.
What would you sell it for?
Which flight, Tony?
It was a small tournament. There were no flights. We won it outright, but it could be bought. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, it could be bought.
For you'd sell in a heartbeat.
So I think I mean, it's a landing place too, and like you said, Hank, and I appreciate the transparency and the honesty, because I think that's part of the problem with a lot of these discussions. People say what they want to hear somebody else hear, right, or whatever, not necessarily what they mean. And I think it is an uncomfortable reality for some people to go, you know what? And maybe this is, I'm speaking from, personal opinion here, is it kind of the idea that professional golf is fundamentally transactional. It is, I give you this, I get this in return. And if I can get more of that for giving less or the same or whatever, as a means to an end, like you said, that's a hard thing for some people to hear and to wrap their head around. And that somebody might go, you know what? I don't teach golf because I love teaching golf. I teach it because it's a hell of a career and I can make a shit ton of money doing it. And yeah, it's fun and whatever. But ultimately, if I could make more money and I were better at building houses or bridges, I might do that as well. And to go, man, there are far more people, the Kevin Kisner mentality. Hey, 30th place pays really well. That's why I play in some of these tournaments that I know I have no shot to win, because 30th pays pretty well. Well, that probably is more the reality of the day to day for, like you said, almost every golfer out there than it is, money can't buy this feeling. Well, yeah, it can.
Crushes the purity of the game argument.
Yeah,
real quick
and
right
that's
now. I mean,
that's
there's an element of
ugly,
that
right? That
sucks.
sucks, and that's
it does
ugly.
suck, but
we get all over everybody when they say, because they don't say, I did it for the money. But then we don't get over anybody that says, I play for the trophies. But we know that they played for the trophies
And the money.
because they have the money.
Yeah,
and by the way, if you lined up everybody and said, okay, here you go, you can have your trophy or you can have the money.
No brainer.
They're gonna take the money.
Yeah. Do you want a green jacket or $5 million?
Yeah, that's it. What they quickly calculate. What do you think they do if that was posed to them? What would they do?
They would hire a marketing firm and say, hey, how much is that green jacket worth?
Exactly.
And they'd say, if it's more or less than 5 million, they'd say, it's this one or it's that one. Oh, that's 5.2 million? Give me that one.
100%. And then, you know what? You do the same thing. Most people would do the same thing. You might not do the same thing, but most people would do the same thing.
Well, I got 7
That's
girls.
And you say, hey, you'd ask your agent, you ask your marketing firm, hey, how much is this worth?
College is expensive for 7 girls, Hank.
I know, but then somebody might say, you know what? Different people's, some guys say, you know what? I got $4 million in bills, and I'm tired of, waking up sweating every day, and I got kids to go to college and this and that, and you know what? Just give me the $5 million right now, and I'll. I don't want to have this feeling anymore. So there's some people that have done that. You don't know everybody's financial situation that went to LIV Golf. I mean, and it's just like, you don't know what that, person's waking up with every day or going to sleep with every night or what, his situation is. And, everybody said, they just went for the money. Yeah, well, maybe they did, but it's just that people don't like to talk about it. They don't like to. They want to pretend like it's all about the purity of the game and the sport, and you should play for the trophies and all that stuff. And yeah, do they like winning a trophy? Do they like the notoriety? But I guarantee you, a player wins a tournament. And the first thing that's popping into his mind is, I'm exempt for 2 years.
What's my bonus?
What's my bonus? How many tournaments, how many no-cut tournaments am I in now? How big are all those fields compared to the ones I used to play in? What's this going to do to my new endorsement contracts? If you don't think that, you're just being just super naive.
Yeah. So where does this end up, do you think, Hank? And maybe we'll kind of finish up with this in 3, 4, 5 years. Like I said, we've seen evolutions throughout the game, right? When you had PGA of America, we had if you want to call them splinter tours or different things or whatever, and as we move forward, and there's the litigious side that apparently is becoming less litigious as more and more players drop out. Like in 3 to 5 years. If we put this conversation in a time capsule and came back, and what do you think we're going to see?
I think you're going to see, either one of two things. I think you're going to see that the LIV Golf business plan, and I think I don't know what their business plan is, but I have an idea what their business plan is. I think it's based around this team concept. I don't think we've really seen and I think they're fluid. They're open to changes. They've changed a lot of stuff already. So I think they're basing it on the team concept deal. I would selling these teams, naming these teams, getting sponsors for these teams, getting owners for these teams. I know that has something to do with their business plan.
Hopefully that includes better logos for the teams.
Probably, or some, who knows? I don't know what but I got to think that's how they think they're going to make this thing work financially. And if that does work, then I think golf will be more fun. It'll be cooler. It'll be bigger. It'll be better. It will have grown, and I think that will be really good for golf. Other than that, I think they just that concept doesn't work, and then they just get tired of losing a bunch of money and spend a bunch of money, and then we just go back to the PGA Tour, which has improved, I think, tremendously in the next 5 years based on the fact that they have competition. So I think it's a win-win either way.
Hank, I want to get your opinion real quick on the PGA Tour side of this, and some of the stuff that we've heard about LIV, and we've seen firsthand when John Barba went to the tournament in Massachusetts. Seemingly small things, and small in the sense of they should be really easy to achieve. So, when I hear things like how much better caddies are treated by the LIV Tour, and how the media facilities and the media is treated at the at LIV events versus we've had experience with PGA Tour trying to freeze us out and things like that. Like, why has that piece of it been so difficult? How did it get so bad on the PGA Tour where another organization can come in and do something that strikes me as obvious? Basically, hey, treat other people associated with this game that we're putting on here well. Like, how did it get to that point? Why was it so bad?
Well, I mean, when they came in, they look, okay, what could we improve, and how can we make things better, and how can we get important people to be nice to us and to say good things about us. So let's take care of the media. Let's take care of the sponsors. Let's make sure we do that. Let's take care of the caddies. Let's take care of the coaches. And that's what you do when you're an upstart company. You figure out, okay, what can we do to do better than what our competition is doing. So I think that's a natural evolution. And then if you're the PGA Tour, you respond and you say, you know what, we've been lax in these areas, and let's treat caddies better. If they don't think they've been treated well enough, and let's do some of this. I don't know. The answer to that question is that they didn't think they needed to, or they didn't care and didn't want to,
or a combination, right? I mean,
or a combination. So that's just how they, and a lot of things just get done in the world because that's just the way it's always been that way, and but things evolve, things change, and competition, makes things change. It makes people do better. It makes companies, respond. And that's why I think, I don't know how you can deny that, a lot of golf, a lot of professional golf is in a better place right now than it was before LIV. What's gotten worse about it? The bickering is bad. Okay. You don't get to see the top players play as much. That's actually not true. Okay. Because they didn't play much anyways.
Right.
But now they're going to play, 20 events? So all the best players on the PGA Tour are going to play 20 events, and all the best players on the LIV Tour are going to play 14 events. And before, you saw some combination of both playing a few events, but not many. So I don't really know, that's bad. Who's getting hosed here? You could, some of these tournaments, because their fields are going to be weaker, and there's the sponsors, because their fields are weaker, they're probably going to take it on the chin. But I mean, from the players' standpoint, they're making a ton more money. There's more spots. I think there's just a lot of good things that have come of this already. In my opinion, I just don't see what's so bad. I don't get it. That's one of the reasons when I tweet, like positive things. Like I'm like, what? Why is this a bad thing? What's so bad about this? What is it? I mean, you just have some, you just have some thing that you just have to feel like you have to defend the PGA Tour. And look at all the people that defend the PGA Tour. I mean, you guys and what you guys do, and I always admire, what you guys do. You you're not necessarily, out there just to make friends. You're out there to tell the truth and to get people, educated. And, it's a different approach. When you're, doing it the other way, sometimes it's not, the most forthcoming way, in my opinion. So I like where it is now. I really do. I just think it's going to take a little time to work out. I don't understand the world golf ranking thing, how that's, we've gone through that. I think, that'll kind of work out. And I think because we need that to work out, because I want to see Cameron Smith and Dustin Johnson. And, I want to see some of these, better, Taylor Gooch and whoever has a real chance. I want to see them playing in major championships. I don't think they should be shut out of major championships because they play on some tour somewhere over there. What have they done so egregious that should make it that they can't ever play in a major championship again? I don't think that's right.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride. I mean, we're, it already is.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. That's a good point, Tony.
And it's that 2 steps, maybe, we're in this weird interim, I guess. And that's part of the reason I asked the question of 3-5 years is, we've taken the engine out of the car, and now it's like, okay, what other repairs need to be done and things that need to be, like you said, figured out or put back together before ultimately we get to a landing place. And the game has always survived, right? The game of golf continues to win. And I think for me, it's always important to remember too, that golf, what we do, right, when testing equipment, discussing stuff, whatever, it really isn't about the professional game at all. Golf is, me and Tony playing in his member guest. It's the 9-hole beer league on Wednesday nights down the road. It's, working with juniors, giving lessons, whatever. To me, that is golf, and that really ultimately is, the game of golf. Professional golf is
where the purity remains.
I mean, the part of professional golf is such a separate entity, and yes, with this is what we focused on exclusively, but professional golf is such a small part of what golf is really worldwide that I'm still maybe it's Pollyannish, maybe it's naive, but I'm very pro the game of golf continues to win regardless of what happens with this interim.
That's what I think too. I think that's a good point. Those are great points. I mean, it's just such a little piece of golf. I think to a certain extent, the tours are, PGA Tour, whatever, it's too influential in golf. I mean, that's not really, that's just a little bit of golf. And, people are all like, bent out of shape because, they started this tour over there and I mean, a lot of good things are going to come from it. I think it's all going to be good. I think the PGA Tour is going to have more opportunities for more good young stars to come about. And that's going to be good. There's going to be more spots. I think the LIV, I hope they're going to get this team thing going, and that's going to be fun to watch. Like golf's, I mean, I like watching golf. I'm a golf nut, but I mean, it's hard to deny. I mean, it's a little, it could use a little something.
Ugh. It's a great way to take a nap. It's a great way to take a nap right now.
It's a great way to take a nap. That's a good point. I mean, it just is. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. And there's too many tournaments where, there's too many tournaments where the fields stink and you don't even know anybody in them, and everybody complains about that. And then and you talk about hypocrisy, they claim about the fact that, this is a terrible field. Okay. And you could look at that term and that same term that has a terrible field, you could throw in a bunch of guys that, have won majors or been big names, but aren't ranked high in the world golf rankings. And that tournament would love to have them. And then, you put those same players over on the LIV Tour and they go, they got a bunch of has-beens. Nobody, look at that. Look at their world golf rankings. They're no good. Yeah, maybe. But I actually have heard of them, and they've actually won like big tournaments. And by the way, they won major tournaments because that's really you remember that. You know, you don't remember, you know, the fact that, you know, Louis Oosthuizen's won. I mean, how many tournaments has the guy won? Like
No idea.
idea.
I couldn't tell you. I
Legitimately,
couldn't
no
tell
idea.
you.
okay, well there you go. You can't. And Charles Schwartzel, you couldn't tell me that either. But you know what? They've won majors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Graham McDowell. How many tournaments did he win on?
Don't
the
know, but he
PGA
won a
Tour?
U.S. Open. Yeah.
He won a U.S. Open, and
Danny
that's
Willett.
because there's only four tournaments that really matter.
That's the
4.5.
legacy piece, though,
Legacy.
right? Is being
4.5.
remembered.
4.5 tournaments.
I'll give them, I like the players. I think that's good.
Okay,
That's
5.
a legacy piece. That's a legacy piece for sure.
Yeah.
It all boils down to that. You know, you can't have it both ways. You know, hypocrisy. You know, Jack Nicklaus's the greatest golfer who's ever lived, but you know, I want to win a tournament that matters. Well, Tiger's won 82 of them. Why is he not the greatest golfer that's ever lived?
I guess some of them didn't
I
matter.
think he is. Yeah.
Because we only count the majors.
Right.
No, well, I thought those other ones were so important.
Yeah.
No, well, they're not. They're only important when we're criticizing LIV Golf. They're not important when we're counting greatest player ever.
Well, it's a volume game, though. You have to win enough of the ones that nobody remembers to be remembered.
Yeah.
I think.
I know. It's so much hypocrisy. It's crazy. But,
Yeah.
you know, we all do it, you know, because that's how we make our arguments. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm not saying, you know, I haven't been the same way. So it's just, but, you know, it's fun to talk about too.
Yeah.
I mean, it riles people up, and it, you know, everybody's got an opinion. But most, you know, more people that come to me and they go, you know, Hank, I really like watching LIV, or you know, why do the people think this is going to be so bad for guys? You know, the opinions you read on Twitter, I don't know if they reflect, you know, the real golf fan out there. You know, I really don't. I don't know if they do. I think you get a lot of passionate people that talk about things on social media, but I don't know if that reflects everybody, because I just don't hear that when people come and talk to me. Now, maybe that's because they think I have a certain opinion. They don't want to tell me something and get in a dust up or something. But I don't know.
No, I think you're right, and I think
Yeah.
you know, moving forward, I do hope. Like, I would love to see. I was talking to your good friend Colt Nost and Drew Stoltz there a little bit about it. I'd love to see a 21 and over channel of LIV Golf. Let the commentators get on the course and really say what's going on. Say what they think. Say, you know,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
what they, you know, and pay your $4.99 a month or whatever. But I would love to hear, you know, really, if you really want to bring people into the tournament experience, bring them in. Bring them in. Wouldn't you love to walk? I mean, yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
PGA Tour will never do that.
I value opinions of people that, you know, aren't beholding to other, you know, people. Like, you know, like that's why I think what you guys do is good, you know, because you're not, you know, nobody's telling you what to do. You're doing your own deal. You're doing it your way. You're making a evaluation of products or whatever, and you're giving your opinions on it, and you know, you don't care if it ruffles a feather or not. So many of these negative opinions on this stuff are all people that like have, you know, a vested interest in one side or the other.
Yeah. Their opinion's been bought and paid for already.
Yeah, they're bought and paid for. I mean, you know, why are they so, you know, why are these guys like, hey, because they got a show on Sirius XM PGA Tour radio. They're working for, you know, one of the television stations that broadcast PGA Tour, you know, the PGA Tour. And what do you think their opinion's going to be? I mean, are you going to ask that guy for his opinion? I mean, he's not going to give you the opinion. His opinion is what? Do you know what his opinion is based on? Money.
Like I said,
It all goes back to the money.
Yep. I had a boss early on one time that I said, be very, very careful. One of the first things you want to figure out in any job is who signs your paycheck. And
you want to get an opinion on golf equipment by reading Golf Digest. I mean, give me a break. I mean, it's all who pays. They got advertisers, and so they, give out everybody gets the top award. They're all gold. No, they're all gold rated. What? No, there's no winners. It's like there's no better. There's no best. That's how. And what do you expect them to do?
Right.
They figure how can we evaluate equipment and never piss anybody off? Well, any evaluation of equipment that never pisses anybody off is not going to be a real evaluation of equipment.
No, it's not the best business model. We'll attest to that, but it is the most honest.
100%. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah.
It has not made us.
No, we haven't got there yet, but we're doing it the way that we think is best for consumers.
You guys are doing good though. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Hank. No, thanks for your time. Like I said, it's called No Putts Given for a reason, and we don't have to agree on stuff to have a good conversation. Like I said, I think that's part of what's missing in a lot of different arenas. It's great to debate and hear different opinions, and at the end of the day, find certain resting places that you think are good and reasonable, and always happy to have you on, and best of luck to you moving forward. Right. I'll give you Tony's address for those boxes of voodoo cream, because he's getting old. He's got a lot of aches and pains, and he could use a 5-gallon bucket of this stuff, I think. So, Golfspy T, Golfspy C, Hank Haney is on the interwebs as well. As he just said, loves to engage with you on the social media platforms and get your thoughts and feelings and whatever. But don't expect him to sugarcoat anything, and don't expect us to do it either. So until next time, we're out.